almost everybody running for president as a Democrat is upset about something called assault weapons.
These assault weapons, weapons of war, they are potential instruments of terror.
We need a renewed assault weapons ban.
Ban the sale and distribution of assault weapons.
I'm also the only guy that got assault weapons banned.
And a renewal of the assault weapons ban.
Democrats running for president say these weapons must be banned immediately. And this time, it won't simply just be a ban on the sale of them, like we saw in 1994 under the Clinton administration. Lawmakers now say they're going to seize these weapons from law-abiding citizens, take them away by force. Joe Biden is supposedly the moderate Democratic candidate in the race, and he proposed that without apology last month. Watch.
So to gun owners out there who say, well, a Biden administration means they're going to come for my guns.
Bingo. You're right if you have an assault weapon. The fact of the matter is they should be illegal, period.
So what exactly does it mean, assault weapon? Well, Democrats in the Congress think they've supplied an answer. 211 House Democrats, that's almost all of them, are backing a bill that they say would ban assault weapons in America. The next time they hold complete power in Washington, and that could be soon, it will likely become law. So what does the law do? Well, its definition of an assault weapon is almost 1,700 words long. We read it today. It includes dozens of specifically named firearms, including the AR-15 rifle that millions of Americans own, and some use for deer hunting. Yes, it is used for hunting, Joe Biden. You know nothing. Like the original assault weapons ban from 1994, the new one includes definitions designed to ban minor features that make, in effect, a gun look scarier. Any semi-automatic rifle, for example, regardless of how powerful it is, will be banned as long as it has a detachable magazine and one other feature that House Democrats appear to be frightened by, whether it's a forward grip or a barrel shroud or a threaded barrel for attaching a suppressor. None of those things make a gun more powerful or more deadly. They're cosmetic features. They don't make it more military style, but they do make them illegal under this proposed law. Handguns under the bill are targeted the same way. The bill would ban any semi-automatic handgun pistol that weighs more than 50 ounces. The gun doesn't have to do anything else. A pistol being heavier than Democrats think it should be makes it a military-style assault weapon. Are you catching on here? This is all made up. This is a gun bill written by people who know nothing about guns. It's moronic. The bill doesn't just target rifles or handguns, though. Even shotguns are listed. The bill would ban any semi-automatic shotgun with, quote, a revolving cylinder. By the way, there aren't many shotguns with a revolving cylinder, but it would mean that the antique Colt 1855 shotgun is now banned because it's a military-style assault weapon. But the real villain for Democrats isn't guns, despite all the rhetoric. It's actually bullets. Their bill will ban any American from protecting him or herself with a firearm that holds more than 10 rounds. Wait, did we just say any American? No, of course not. It's not any American. This law would only apply to you. It would not apply to the people writing it. Our exalted leaders in Washington will be as safe as they always have been. I know some of the bodyguards living at your house, okay? And they've got magazines that I can't protect my family with. Right. Does that bother you as a champion of the little guy?
Tucker, someone who serves in public service for a limited period of time, and in the society we're living in, I hate to say it, but public servants are vulnerable to violence in a different way.
So the guy delivering baked goods to the bodega in East New York at 3 in the morning, he doesn't get to protect himself because his job isn't important enough. But Bill de Blasio, who works like 8 hours a month, he needs bodyguards with guns that you're not allowed to have because his life and the lives of his family members are way more important than your life. Oh, I get it. So protection for me, but not for thee. That really is our governing elites in a nutshell. Bill de Blasio has endorsed forcible gun seizures. So has Elizabeth Warren.
The idea that we don't have elimination of assault-type weapons, magazines that can hold multiple bullets in them, is absolutely mindless.
Yes, mindless. That's the perfect word for what you just heard. Joe Biden has said, in the clip we just played, that any magazine that holds more than a single round ought to be banned, and it's crazy not to.
I'm hoping this is just another Joe Biden gaffe, that he just has no idea what he's talking about. Because I don't know of a single magazine, Tucker, that doesn't hold more than one round of ammunition. If he means what he says and he actually knows what he's talking about, then you're right. He's talking about banning every single gun out there that accepts a magazine.
How do you address the fears that the government is going to take away those assault rifles, as you call them, if you're talking about buybacks and banning?
Yeah. So I want to be really clear that that's exactly what we're going to do. Americans who own AR-15s, AK-47s, will have to sell them to the government.
What I hear when he says that is, I'm going to come door to door and take your guns from you, and I'm going to bring my guns, because if you don't want to give them up, I'm going to use my guns to force them from you. We're talking mass-scale police door to door. We're talking insane amounts of money. And you already said it. The assault weapon ban we had under the Clinton era not only did nothing to curb gun violence, we actually peaked. Our worst violence we had peaked during the middle of the Clinton assault weapons ban.
San Francisco, the city plagued with massive problems, obvious problems if you ever go there. Huge homeless population, needles, human waste piled on sidewalks, no exaggeration. Car break-ins at the highest level in the country. The city government, though, doesn't care about this. They have other priorities, including, this week, the Board of Supervisors in San Francisco labeled the National Rifle Association a domestic terror organization. Watch this.
Supervisor Catherine Stephanie wrote the scathing declaration, reading in part, quote, "The National Rifle Association spreads propaganda that misinforms and aims to deceive the public about the dangers of gun violence."
The NRA has it coming to them, and I will do everything that I possibly can to call them out on what they are, which is a domestic terrorist organization.
This same group of people is siding with criminals over the law-abiding, has opened our borders to foreign nationals whose names we don't even know, is presiding over a country that's getting dirtier and more chaotic and more dangerous. And at exactly the point all of this is happening, they're saying, you don't have the right to defend yourself. That should make us nervous, I would think.
It makes me look. I've done a whole documentary series on San Francisco. I think we even talked about it on your show in the past.
Yes,
and I remember being there. And thank you very much. And I vividly remember being there. My concealed carry in Texas doesn't transfer over to California. So I was walking these streets without the ability to protect myself, and I didn't like it. It wasn't a very comfortable situation. So I can only imagine the people that have to live there day in and day out, considering all of the crime that's going on there now. Yeah, it's a serious problem.
The NRA was founded in 1871. It is one of the oldest civil rights organizations in America. Charlton Heston, who went on to be the NRA president, marched with Martin Luther King Jr., was standing on the Lincoln Memorial steps when he gave his I Have a Dream speech. Roy Innis, who was a civil rights icon, he served on the NRA board of directors for 25 years until his death in 2017. I have met thousands of NRA members. I'm a lifetime member. These people like personal responsibility. They like freedom. They believe in the Second Amendment. And that is why they are members of the NRA. Right. And I think it's important to be clear, people don't own firearms because of the NRA, as San Francisco says in this stupid ordinance that they passed. They own firearms because they have a constitutional right to do so to protect themselves and their families. And everything that NRA members represent, rural America, individualism, personal responsibility, is what the left hates. It's not just about guns. It's about what people in the NRA represent, what their values are, a traditional American values, and wanting freedom from the government to take care of themselves so they don't have to go to the government and ask for help when the government can't be there to protect them.
Exactly.
They want to do it themselves, which is why the Second Amendment is so important to them. And for San Francisco and other leftist politicians to continually smear them and accuse 5 million Americans of being domestic terrorists when they're not the ones shooting up schools, and they're not the ones carrying out mass shootings.
Exactly right.
They're doing the opposite by trying to prevent them through legislation and by educating people about the respectful and lawful use of firearms.
Yeah. In a new Rasmussen poll, 28% of Democrats, almost a third, say it should be illegal to belong to any gun rights organization. Illegal. In other words, almost a third of all Democrats believe it should be a crime to openly support part of the U.S. Constitution.
It's essentially what happens when you have a society that starts to champion the idea of emotion over intellect. We've essentially turned into basically a big group of mean girls, where basically, if I don't like what they do and like what they say, you can't join them or be a part of them either. That's all emotion. But the idea of communicating and engaging in intellectual conversation about a topic, we can't do that now. It's almost essentially a dumbification of America. But what's the end goal here? We're talking about an organization that has 5 million people who are American citizens. So what are we going to do? We're going to start rounding them up and throwing them in prison too? And the irony is our founding fathers were considered terrorists by way of the British government because they wanted to come and confiscate our firearms, and they said no. So now we're literally dealing with elements in our own country who are saying, you know what, we want to prevent you from owning firearms, and as a result of that, we're going to deem you a terrorist. So they've essentially proved the point why the Second Amendment is as relevant today as it was in 1791 when the Second Amendment was ratified, in that, no, you actually do want to eliminate the idea of bearing arms in this country, and you'll go to whatever extreme possible to do it, even to deem you a terrorist. And we all know what we do with terrorists in this country. It's not a good sight. The last time we had an issue of confiscation in this country, we started a revolutionary war. So just that puts things into perspective pretty blatantly at that point. And I know a ton of Americans who who would not succumb to the idea or the notion of having their weapons confiscated from them based on their Second Amendment right.
What are you going to use to take people's guns? Tucker, what is Joe Biden going to use to go and take people's guns? Guns.
What you're going to have is law enforcement that everyone on the left is calling racist going into black neighborhoods and taking people's guns away.
You know,
so tell me, I mean, what does that look like to you?
Yeah, that's obviously something I'm not for.
Some Democrats are pushing hard for the adoption of a federal red flag law. You may have heard the phrase. What is that exactly? Well, a red flag law would allow police to seize a person's guns without convicting or even charging that person with any crime. All they need to do is decide that that person is a threat to public safety.
There are even elected members of our House of Representatives that have referred to law-abiding gun owners as, and I quote, domestic terrorists. And these are the individuals that would be implementing this red flag system. First off, the red flag proposals, and I've read the language of the laws in the 17 states that have passed these, including the District of Columbia as well. It's all an inversion of our due process, where you are presumed guilty, and then later on, you know, maybe I think in Indiana, on average, it's about 9 months. You have your day in court, and you can try to get your property back and clear your name if you have been falsely accused. It is an absolute removal of a cornerstone of our republic. And if Republicans right now under the Trump administration, if they support this, Tucker, if they support this, and if they go in with the universal background checks and everything else, they will have done more than Barack Obama when he was president to undermine our Second Amendment rights. Is that what they want their legacy to be?
If government can simply take away your constitutional rights by deciding you're dangerous and not proving it, then how are they constitutional rights in the first place? And if red flag laws require no criminal charges at all, what will protect you from being abused for political reasons?
In some states, pretty much any Tom, Dick, and Harry can report you and say that they think you're dangerous and that you have firearms, and then law enforcement they're not required to give advance notice. You're talking about serving, no-knock warrants and all of this other stuff.
But there's also talk by some of these candidates about a tax, a new tax or a fee. Wouldn't that just make it even just more possible for the rich to be able to enjoy their Second Amendment while shutting out, once again, the poor and the disenfranchised?
I've said it before, and I'll say it again. I've been saying it for years. The vast majority of gun control disproportionately affects people of a lower economic status.
Correct.
Period. And the irony behind this is that the vast majority is that the people in these places probably need the guns a lot more than individuals like you and I or some of the people who are pushing these gun control measures. So this really has nothing to do with saving lives. It's all about scoring political talking points to get elected.
We just need to accept the notion that law-abiding gun owners do nothing to harm American security. They make communities safer.